Hello, and welcome to the Hogancast, a weekly podcast where we discuss a variety of subjects. Each week, we talk about a different topic, from literature to travel and everything in between. Our episodes strive to be both conversational and informational, and our occasional interviews are hopefully entertaining. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 6th episode of the Hogancast. I apologize for the delay. We were expecting to have this episode up last week, but we had some issues that made that impossible. This week, we'll be sitting down with Miss Huyen Nguyen, who is, as you know, sometimes my co-host, and we'll be interviewing her about her career in green energy, how she got there, what she sees for the future of green energy, what she's excited about, what she's concerned about. So without any further ado, let's just get into the interview. Hello, Miss Nguyen. Thank you for joining us.
Great to be here, Scott. Has been here for a while as I was busy doing something else, but happy to be back and talking to you guys all.
Okay, we're going to ask you a few questions just about your career in green energy and green energy in general. So let's just kick it off. You are originally from Vietnam. So how did you end up working for a company based in Thailand?
Well, it's basically a long life story, but I will try to make it short. I always, when I was younger, growing up, always want to travel to see how people outside Vietnam conducting their lives, see different culture, different places. However, this is a very inexpensive lifestyle, and I have to pay for transportation, lodging, and food, and all sort of expenses. So I figure if I can pick a job living in another country, it's a good idea. I believe it's a smart idea to be able to fund for myself to do things that I like to do. So that's how I ended up looking for a job abroad, and I landed a job in Thailand. So I guess that's the purpose of doing two things. One is being able to fund for the thing that I like to do, living in another country, living with other people other than Vietnamese. And second thing is having a job that can fund for that.
So you recently located to the United States. Why is that?
So after a while living in different country, my husband and I decided to move back to the States and to be closer to his family. And I think that's a good idea. I never been to I came here to visit his family a couple of times, but I haven't really lived here. So I think, good chance for me to expose myself to American culture. So that's how we end up here in Martinsburg.
Awesome. Could you tell me a little bit about your role as consulting manager for Asia Clean Energy Partners?
So as a consulting manager for Asia Clean Energy Partners, my job is to look for new opportunities in the region and engage with the manager to decide whether we can pursue those opportunities. And one of my priorities is working with the UNIDO program called Private Financing Advisory Network, which provide coaching, free service coaching and investment facilitation for clean energy and climate projects in Asia.
So you mentioned UNIDO. Is that the United Nations Environmental Development Organization? Is that what that stands for?
Sorry for being so brief. I always assume that people know all the acronyms. So UNIDO means United Nations for Industrial Development Organization.
And how long have you worked at Asia Clean Energy Partners?
So this is my third year at Asia Clean Energy Partners, or we in short we call H Partners. So I started in late 2019 when I was in Japan, basically joining my husband living in a small town in northern part of Japan, and I was not working at that time. I saw the advert from the company who founded by the person I know, so I think it's a perfect fit for me, so I applied for that.
So you knew at least one person at the company before you actually got the job? Was that beneficial?
So the company were founded by two partners, and one of the partners I know him since the time I was in Bangkok. Well, it's nice to be able to have some sort of connection, but it was not the main idea how I was hired, and I have to go through the interview like the rest of the other applicants. And I learned later when I joined the company that both co-founders, they told me that they were very impressed with my performance and my experience. So that's how I was chosen among 80 applicants.
Did you study clean energy or environmental policy or anything like that at university?
No, I have no clue about clean energy or anything like that at the university. Early in my career, I started as working to support the poor communities in Vietnam. And then given my experience, I was able to obtain a scholarship from the Australian government to pursue my master degree in Australia. But my main focus at that time was community development, because that's where my experience is. And also I was so passionate about support marginalized, less developed communities, how to help poor communities to achieve the lifestyle that they desire. So that's where my passion is. So clean energy was not on my radar earlier in my career at all.
So what exactly did you study at university? What was your undergraduate?
My undergraduate was sociology. Back in the day when you were young, at 17, at 18, you have no clues what you like to do in your life. And I just picked a major to go with, because back in the day in Vietnam, the only choice to get out of the poverty, to be able to do something in your life, is to go to college. Everybody in Vietnam, every young people in Vietnam go to college. Being failed to get to college is almost like disaster in your life, and it's almost brings shame to the whole family. So I should pick a major that I'm comfortable with. So I went with that. I ended up really like it. We have a very good, the head of the sociology department, he inspires us a lot. He is able to speak like 5 different languages, and he always talk about how being able to speak good English would help you to understand a lot of value from sociology. So that's how I end up spend a lot of time try to speak English and to perfect my English abilities.
And your graduate, you said, was community development in Australia. Is that what you studied when you went to Australia?
Yes, so like I said earlier that after graduated, joined a project funded by the Australian government to support the poor communities in my hometown. And I worked with them for 5 years and fell in love with that. I found my purpose, and I think that's what I like to do for the rest of my life, to work with the poor community, being close to them, work with them, give them the support that they need.
You didn't study green energy, and you were in love with community development. How did you end up being involved in renewable energy?
Yeah, it sounds like there's no connection, and I never ever imagined my life that would end up working in the power sector, which is something very alien to me. But I guess it started from the main purpose, the interest that I always like to do. For instance, like I like to travel a lot. I like to see people. So I got a job in Thailand working with the intergovernmental organization in the northern part of Thailand. And also at that time, I worked to support the small size enterprises in countries in the Mekong region. I went from working with communities to working with small size enterprises. And then later on, my husband and I decided to move to Bangkok. I ended up working for the University of the Thai Chamber of Commerce, supporting cooperation and education exchange between Latin America and Southeast Asia. And then one day I got an email from Deloitte, who at that time was a prime contractor for the US-funded project to support clean energy projects in Asia, to get funding to fund for their projects. And that's how I end up working in green energy.
Now, you've been working remotely in the U.S. since the start of the COVID pandemic. How has that affected your ability to do your job?
At first, it was nice, but then it increasingly challenging for me because now I'm in the U.S. and all my work is in Asia. So I have to adjust myself because of the different time zones. I work in the day, and I also have to take a call and work with my colleague in Asia when they get up. So I feel like I'm an owl and work because I work most of the evening, at least 4 or 5 times a week, and I feel extremely tired. And at some point, I feel like I almost give up. But my company, the co-founders, they are very, very flexible and they're very supportive. They try to have some sort of what they call no-fly zone. So I don't have to work or have any calls with clients between 11 to 8 a.m. in the next morning. So I will have sufficient time to rest properly and to start my day fresh. So I really appreciate that. I think I look forward to be able to meet people in person again, to do business in person again. I feel, like I said earlier, part of the challenge is I feel very, very tired, but also I feel lonely because I am by myself most of the time. I feel like I look at the wall 8 hours by myself, so I feel very lonely and anxious and agitated. But this kind of experience also teach me to be patient, learn to accept the situation, and also I have recently learned to do meditation as well, and it's helped a lot, and it calmed me and make me relax a lot.
How would you compare renewable energy initiatives in the United States to those that you've seen in Southeast Asia?
Obviously, not only in the renewable energy sector, but other sectors of the economy, the United States is well advanced as compared to other countries in Southeast Asia. So most of the time we have experts coming from the United States, bring in their experience and best practices and expertise to help countries in Southeast Asia to develop both in terms of the policies, but also support the government to stimulate the private sector and formulate a good policy to promote clean energy in Southeast Asia.
So which region do you think has taken the threat of climate change more seriously?
I would say at this point, almost everybody in the world is aware of the danger of not taking climate change as a threat seriously. And I believe that everyone is more cautious about the way we are conducting our life, the way we operate the economy is causing a lot of damage both to the environment and also to the public health. But you will see that because the way, as like every other thing in the world, it has become the habit, and now you have to change something, and it's taking time to change the habit. And you will see, for instance, like in the United States, you will see there's a more aggressive actions from both the governments and also from the private sector in terms of promoting clean energy as compared to other countries, less developed countries in Southeast Asia.
So are there any shortcomings in either region that you would like to see corrected?
So as I said earlier, that the way we conduct our life and the economy has been so attached to burning fossil fuels that we need to change, and it takes a lot of political will to be able to do that. So I like to see in the coming years, would like to see it happen quicker, in that the government would be more willing to stay away from or cut off the subsidy to fossil fuel and move the investments into clean energy.
So we talked about the shortcomings, but what are some of the most impressive green energy initiatives that you've seen in the U.S. or Southeast Asia or any of the regions that you've been?
I see that most countries are having a different kind of initiative to support the movement of towards the net zero emissions and decarbonization. So in the United States, for instance, right now I see that the Department of Energy has a loan program to support particularly enterprise and companies that have innovation in clean energy technology, for example, in battery storage. And or back in Asia, last year the Asia Development Bank support the government of Cambodia to build the solar power plant with the lowest power tariff of around 38.77 cents per kilowatt hour, which is considered the lowest power tariff in Southeast Asia.
Just a few months ago, the United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP26, was held in Glasgow. What are some of the things that excited you during the conference?
That was the conference that everybody was looking at, and we were, both myself and my colleagues was expect something big gonna happen because obviously we don't have enough time to be able to keep the Earth temperature to within 1.5 degrees Celsius. So one of the thing I was a little bit surprised was it was a time that the Vietnamese Prime Minister announced that the country will try to achieve net zero by 2050. The reason was that because right before he went to COP26, the government released the draft of the power plant development number 8, which they intended to add more coal into the national energy mix. So yeah, that's for me that was a big surprise, which showed that the Vietnamese government is definitely committed to the net zero, and I hope that after he come back from the COP26, he would make a big change in the revised version of the National Power Development Plan number 8.
Well, you mentioned coal there with Vietnam. I know that you're a big proponent of the phase out coal initiative, but after living here in West Virginia, has your opinion changed at all?
Well, I have a tiny correction from your question. Actually, at the COP26, even though everyone tried to convince the parties who joined the conference that we need to phase out coal, but then on the last day of the conference, the Indian came up and joined with some other country to agree that we will phase down, not phase out, because developing countries need more time to be able to develop their economy and to have enough finance to be able to close down all the coal power plant that they have in the pipeline. So no, living in West Virginia doesn't alter my opinion. Actually, it's enforce my determination to support people here in West Virginia to be able to get out of the industry and to be able to get to a different way of generating income rather than just relying on coal. Because to me, burning fossil fuels is no longer justifiable as they are extremely dangerous for the environment and the public health. And for me, yeah, it sounds very difficult to be able to transition to another industry or another sector. But I believe that if, like you always say, where there's a will, there's a way.
What excites you the most about the future of renewable energy?
I like to be able to live in the place that I can breathe the fresh air, drink clean water. So that renewable energies can give me the possibility to reach that goal.
And what concerns you the most about the future of renewable energy?
So what you hear right now that everywhere you would hear people say, oh, renewable energy, clean energy. What I am concerned the most is it might lead to greenwashing and it also lead to overconsumption. So let me explain a little bit what I mean by that. For example, right now a lot of energy companies have claimed that natural gas is a clean energy source. because the power plant emit less carbon dioxide than coal plants. However, natural gas plants can emit large amount of methane, a potent greenhouse gas with a warming potential more than 85 times of carbon dioxide. The second point I like to make is the way we overconsume everything in life. For example, that right now everybody talking about electric vehicles and they want to switch to EV in order to reduce their carbon footprint. But we have to be very careful about that, because let's say every household in America get 3 electric vehicles, which is very good. But then to be able to produce an EV is require a lot of resource. For example, to produce an EV, it costs up to 60% more of electricity to be able to produce one car. And on top of that, produce battery for EV, you need lithium. And mining lithium has a lot of human rights and environmental costs associated with that. And mining lithium also produce a lot of carbon dioxide. For instance, to get 1 ton of lithium, it produces from 5 to 15 tons of carbon dioxide. So again, we have to be very careful the way how we frame and how we produce a renewable energy.
As a woman, do you feel there is a strong enough female presence in the renewable energy sector right now?
This is a very interesting question. I would say it depends on the sectors, and also it depends on the different country. For instance, like here in America, I see there are more women joining the renewable energy sector. But in Vietnam, for instance, not just the renewable energy, but power sector in general, I don't see a lot of female joining the sector. And culturally, a lot of families don't like their daughter go into the power sector, as they consider as a difficult sector for female.
So, Huyen, do you have any advice for people wishing to reduce their carbon footprint?
I would say start from small thing. I would say just conduct your personal audit to see things around you that you might think that you can switch to more environmentally friendly. For instance, for me, like switch from using single water bottle into buying bottle and carry your water everywhere, other than buying a single water bottle if you can, or clean your house using cloths rather than using paper towels, or where you can try to use public transit rather than personal vehicle. So we should start first with using less, reduce, and then the next step would be reuse, and the last step would be recycle.
All right. Well, I think that's all the questions I have. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me. Do you have any closing remarks you'd like to make?
I hope that what I shared here would inspire you to start doing something to reduce your carbon footprint and do something to leave less damage to the environment.
All right. Thank you again. And we hope to talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.